Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of In Her Shoes. Get ready for a powerful edition to this week. I'm speaking with Rha Goddess. She is such a transformational leader, and I'm so excited to bring her on. We're going to have a powerful conversation, and she's just a force, and I'm really excited to bring her to you, to my community. And so if you have any questions, please comment below and we will get to all of them. And I'm just really excited to bring her on because she's not only an author, she's a CEO, she's a co-CEO, and she's doing such incredible work in the world and such transformational work in the world for leaders and thought leaders and people that are just making change and creating transformation in the world. So I see her. I'm just going to bring her on here. Let me see. Okay. Rha! How are you, my love?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. How are you, Miss Kelly Lynn?
I am so good, and I am just so excited to be here. You are such a powerful force and just a fierce presence. And I know we met through Gabrielle Bernstein, and I was thinking the last time I saw you in person was at the Krupalo event, and that event just made such an impact. Like to this day, I remember like a visioning exercise that you brought us through, and it was so powerful. So I want to thank you for that, and just all the work that you're doing in the world. And you're an author to a book, The Calling. So 3 fundamental shifts to get paid, stay true, and do good. The CEO of Move the Crowd and co-CEO of Information. So I wanted to bring you on because you are just a fierce, I think, my opinion, you're a secret weapon to thought leaders. Secret weapon, Rha. Like, seriously, you are such a secret weapon. And I just wanted to bring you to the community and just to my people and, just to share your wisdom of what you do and anything that you want to talk about. So I love your energy, love your presence, and you're so fierce. So I want to say thank you. And I would love for you to just tell us a little bit more about you, and we can go wherever the interview takes us.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's my joy and my honor. And anytime we're in the circle with GB and the Spirit Junkie movement, it's always a good time. Yeah. So just thank you also for all of the energy that you bring, and also just thank you for being on your purpose, and doing this work. And then to your beloveds, it's so nice to meet you all. So my journey, my path, my work, I'm a liberator. That's really what I believe I'm on the planet to do, is to really help people come to profound relationship and connection with their most authentic self, so that they can really show up in honor of the highest contribution that it is that they're here to make in the world. And so I humbly embrace the secret weapon, because I am and have for many years been much more comfortable in the back of the room. Shout out to those of us who lead from the back of the room. And, it is in this new season of my calling that I've been willing to sort of step out more forwardly with the book, as well as just be willing to be in more conversations like this, to really talk about what the work is that we're here to do, Kelly, because we're in a very important moment. We're in a very important moment as women. We're in a very important moment as entrepreneurs. We're in a very important moment as healers, as game changers, as shapeshifters. And now more than ever, we are needed to be stepping into our full power and our full purpose.
Yeah. So Rha, tell me this, right? Because people, there's that common thought, and I love that, all of what you said. And, I coach women, and there's a lot of women and men that are either like stuck in the imposter syndrome, or maybe they have low confidence, or who am I to do that? Or there's other people doing the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
When you get those types of questions, because it's out there, I even battle with it sometimes myself. what do you like? What do you say? What can people either do or embody? Like, because your work is so powerful. Like, what is some tips or advice that you would give them?
Thank you for asking that. I mean, and you're right. I mean, it is a common challenge. You know, in writing the book, I really wanted to respond to what I thought were the three most pressing questions I got all the time, right? So the first one is just what you said. Who am I? Who am I to do this? Who am I to think that I can have this? Whether that's, you know, this conversation of imposter syndrome, or whether this is the conversation of worthiness, or whether this is the conversation of, you know, do I have the capabilities to be able to achieve what it is that I want to achieve? Or I've come from a history of trauma, or I've come from a history of dysfunction, right? And I've never seen anybody in my family or my community achieve at this level, right? Or, you know, it sounds good for everybody else, but when it comes to me personally and me specifically, I don't think that's the case. There's something else that's in the way of my ability to do what I'm here to do. And so, you know, what I always say to them is that, you know, every single one of us has something that is uniquely ours to bring to the world. And the bottom line is, if we don't bring it, the world doesn't get it. And it's their loss, but it's also our loss, because we don't have the opportunity then to experience the kind of joy and happiness and fulfillment that we're seeking. Mm-hmm. So at some point in the equation, we have to decide, is the safety, notice my quotes here, and the comfort more comfortable or more painful than not pursuing the thing that it is that we're called to do? And there has to be that reckoning at some point for us, where we kind of either are going to say, look, I'm going to spend the rest of my life hiding out, accepting a subpar vision for what I'm here to do, or what I believe I'm here to have in the world, or I'm going to show up and I'm going to really activate on my calling and my purpose, or I'm going to make the contribution that only I can make. And I believe that every single one of us has a responsibility, you all, to figure out what it is that is uniquely yours. It is the best use of your time, right? There are lots of things we could be doing. And I'm going to say to you, the highest and best use of your time is to understand why you're here, what you're here for, and what it is that you're being invited and offered to bring to the rest of the world.
Bro, I like speeches. Every time you talk, I'm like, oh, like it jolts me. It's so good. It's so good. So what do you recommend people doing? Is it just starting imperfectly? Is it following your heart? Because we want to get paid too.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, because that absolutely takes us to challenge and question number 2, right? So I said the first one, who am I? So we have to really look at what is the quality of the nature of our relationship with ourselves. Yeah. And a lot of our society teaches us to operate outside of ourselves and work outside of ourselves. So this opportunity to become more connected to yourself is about carving space to start to ask yourself those very questions. What's important to me? What am I passionate about? What are the things that I would love to be doing? That you know, in other words, if I could do them and not have to worry about whether I'm eating, or not have to worry about the criticism, or not have to worry about the drama, what would I be doing, right? And what is it that gives me great joy when I share it, right? What are the things that I do that come naturally to me, that I don't even think about, that sometimes I have to force myself not to do, right? And it's when we carve that time and space that we can then start to ask ourselves those very specific questions that begin to give us access to what it is that we're here to do, right? Another question you can ask yourself is, when do I feel the happiest? When do I feel the most of service? When do I feel good about who I am and how I'm showing up as a human being? Because all of those questions give you clues to what your purpose is, or give you clues to what it is you're being called to, right? I'm going to get to the money in a minute. I haven't forgotten about that, Kelly, right? I promise I'm coming, because I know how it is, right? But the other thing I'll say is that for some of us, we're looking for this big grand vision to fall out of the sky. And the truth is that you may be operating in what I call your little C, that will take you to your big C. Meaning you may get a call to like wow, go have a conversation with Joe. You met him at a party. He works for this really cool, funky advertising firm. They're always looking for phenomenal content and thought leaders. Go sit down and have a conversation with Joe and share with him the series that you actually want to cut for your YouTube channel, right? Let's just say that was the crumb that dropped in your lap, the little seed, the little call that dropped in your lap, right? And then you go and you honor that and you follow that and you pay attention to that. And then what winds up happening is this beautiful relationship opens up where you then have opportunities to do more that lead you on your path of your purpose. I'm saying that, Kelly, because often what happens with us when the vision is big, we procrastinate. Someday I'll get there. You know, when I make more money, when I have a better job, when the kids are settled, when I know that I won't fail, right? Which I don't even know you all how we ever get to that place in terms of knowing what the future holds. But these are some of the things we say to ourselves, right? So when it's big, we push it off. When it's small, we dismiss it. Oh, that's really not important. I could talk to that person next week. Yeah, Joe was nice and everything, but he would be looking at me strange if I reached out to him out of the blue, right? These are all of the things that we talk ourselves out to. And then we show up and we go, I'm stuck, right? And you're only stuck, y'all, because you're not listening to the guidance.
Yes, right, yes.
The being still, the carving time to be with yourself is about learning how to listen for the guidance. And then developing the muscle, the courage muscle, the consistency muscle, the devotion muscle that enables you to start to take the actions that are consistent with the guidance you are receiving.
Keep talking, Rha. I'm soaking it all in. I don't know. I'm just like, I could listen to you for hours. So I'm just saying that's so important because I know myself. Sometimes I don't listen. I'm just like, oh, have to. Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting both hands up, you all. I teach it and sometimes I don't listen. Right. And then 2 days later, 3 days later, I'm like, I have, backlash or whiplash because I'm like, I got clear guidance around this. Right. I just didn't take the guidance. And so it is a practice, Kelly, right? It's a practice, meaning we have to be willing to consistently show up. We have to learn how to build and strengthen the muscles that enable us both to hear and to act in alignment with what we hear. So carving time and space to ask the big questions, carving time and space to receive those desired answers, and then building the consistent muscle as a practice of following the guidance we received, be it little, be it big, right? Let's talk about the money thing because, the second question that came up, and again, I said to you all, I wrote the book to respond to these 3 questions, right? The second question that comes up is always, how am I going to pay my rent? Number one reason why a lot of us don't pursue what we're being called to do is because we have not figured out, or we even have a question about whether or not we can financially sustain ourselves if we do it, right? And so again, we put it on the shelf. We procrastinate it, we push it off. One of the biggest challenges that we have when we come up with an idea is that immediately tomorrow we put the pressure on the idea that it has to earn 6 figures before the idea is even baked. Do you know what I mean? It's like we assume that the moment we get pregnant, right, the minute of gestation, we should be able to give birth. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. Babies take 9 months, right? At least. Right? Some come a little sooner. But my point is that they need to be nurtured. Your ideas need water. They need sunlight. They need to be cultivated. They need to be engaged. They need to be nurtured before they're at a point where they can really be put on the court and begin to earn, right? The biggest difference between people who have achieved success with the things that they're passionate about and people who are still talking about someday, one day, is that they take their ideas seriously. That even when the idea is a little seedling, they honor it. They plant it in soil, healthy soil. They pluck the weeds around it. The limiting beliefs and conversations would be your weeds, ladies, right? They pluck the weeds around it, right? They give it water. They give it nutrients, right? So that the soil continues to facilitate the growth of the idea. People don't even have to believe in themselves. They don't even have to have all of the confidence, right, that we think we need to have to start anything. But if they believe in the idea and they're passionate enough about the idea to give it time and space to nurture, to cultivate, to give it that water, that sunlight, to manifest, then the idea will begin to take shape and form. The idea will begin to take hold. And at some point, it will start to have a life of itself, right? When we have an idea, often, Kelly Lynn, we run for the most skeptical person we know. And we share our little half-baked idea, right? And then we get their fear. We get their limitation. We get their doubts. And we take it on like it should be ours. And we stop. If I stay with the baby analogy, the question that you always want to ask yourself is, would you let anybody hold your child? You see, you didn't even have to say anything, right? You just instinctively, your body is going, hell no. So, but this is what we do with our ideas. You know, we go to God, you know, God bless us. We go to our mothers who've always been like, you should work a regular job, doctor, lawyer, teacher, right?
Yeah.
We go to our hardcore uncle, right, who's always talking about how hard it is to make anything happen. We go to our very skeptical but very cool friend who, you know, finds that it, you know, it's more about saying no than saying yes, right? Yes, of course. So I see your Bertie asks, is it possible? Why Bertie asks, is it possible to be afraid of succeeding? Yes. Which is part of the reason why we often go to people who will talk us out of it. Right? But let's lean into a little bit more maybe to this fear of success. Let's talk a little bit more about the fear of success. And then I'm going to come back to the money piece because I know a lot of us are trying to figure this out. So why are we afraid of succeeding? We're often afraid of succeeding for a couple of reasons. One is, can we maintain it? It's one thing to hit a goal. It's another thing to do whatever we think is going to require of us to maintain it. And so because whether we feel like we're going to have to work harder than we want to, whether we feel like we're going to have to give up certain aspects of our lifestyle that we don't want to give up, whether we feel like we're going to have to become some whole other person that we don't want to be, right? Whether that's in terms of our morals or our values, or whether that's in terms of what we have to put on as far as the facade is concerned, right? These are all of the conversations, right, that we've been taught to believe come with success that might have us resisting, right? Another big conversation that also can challenge our willingness to lean into success is some of those hard changes we have to make that we know are actually good for us, even though they may not feel good, right? Or those changes we have to make that are very uncomfortable, right? And we don't like being uncomfortable, right? I was in a conversation with the incredible Barbara Houston, shout out Barbara Houston, last night. And one of the things that she said is, you know, that she has trained herself to do whatever feels the scariest. Anytime she's looking at a new goal or a new aspiration, she looks at the thing that sort of feels the scariest to do, and she immediately leans into it. And she says, I condition myself to consistently be uncomfortable. And some of us are unwilling to be uncomfortable. We're unwilling to make those harder choices because sometimes it may mean that we don't spend a whole bunch of time with the person that we've been spending a lot of time with. It may mean we have to have a whole new negotiation with our parents, right? It may mean we have to really question, is our boyfriend or our girlfriend really in our corner? You hear where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so, you know, to this question of fear of success, I would say to you, we're afraid of the choices we may have to make in order to really make room for what it is that we say that we want. Or we're afraid of the pressure that may be put on us once we do succeed. For some people, if they're the first in their family to succeed, they're afraid now that the responsibility is going to be on them to bankroll and take care of everybody else. Well, if that's the pressure we feel, we're going to run in the other direction.
So good, Rha. So good.
So how do we get past that, right? Let's talk a little bit about how we get past it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the money piece, right?
Yeah.
So one of the ways that we start to work through that is by reminding ourselves of why this matters to us. And we need, especially in the times that we live in, you all, we need almost hourly reminders of why what we're doing is important, why it matters to us, right? For some of us, it's about, we want to see what we're capable of. We want to know what we're made of, right? When the chips are down, we want to feel and realize and express our full potential. We know we're here to do more. We know we're here to be more. We know we're here to have more. And we want to realize on that, right?
Right.
For others of us, we have a daughter that's watching us or a son that's watching us, right? And we want to set a different example, maybe than was set for us when we were young, right? Or maybe we are inspired by the example that the people around us set. And we feel a responsibility to deliver on that legacy or on that promise, right? There are lots of reasons why we will reach and aspire for whatever it is that we want. We want a better life. We want a better quality of experience in our day-to-day. We want more joy. We want more peace. We want more freedom. Whatever that is, and some of y'all are going, all of the above, right? Yeah. Whatever that is, we got to keep that eye on that prize. We got to keep that reminder in front of us, because that is the thing that is going to motivate and inspire us to take the hard steps we may need to take to walk towards our vision.
I love that, Rha, and like you said, the hour by hour, because we're getting hit with so much all the time, like work consumption and noise, and it's like, I like that you said maybe it's hour by hour that we have to get focused, and because there's so much going on, there's so much noise that it's like, yep, reel it in.
Yeah, I want to invite you all and even lovingly challenge you, structure your day this way. 50 minutes of an hour is focused on your work. The other 10 minutes is regrounding, reorienting, realigning with your vision, right? So if you're working on your book, right, and that's the focus, then you spend 50 minutes writing. You spend the other 10 minutes engaging with your vision board. You're looking at that New York Times bestseller logo. You're looking at all of the praise. You see the microphone where you're speaking in different parts of the world, right? We spend 10 minutes realigning and 50 minutes working. If you just even tried that practice, just try it for 1 hour and see what happens, right? Our ability to remain focused and motivated is the name of the game, because a lot of what we're battling, especially powerful women, is being distracted.
Yeah.
Whether that's we're serving everybody else's needs, whether that's we're trying to be all things at once, right? But we so can easily be pulled off of our path. It doesn't take much. And so we have to build that discipline, right? AKA devotion to that vision. And so that's why I say hour over hour, if I'm watching, if I'm paying attention to, if I'm keeping my eye on my prize, then I stay motivated to stay in the game around whatever it is I want to be achieving. Now let's get to the money piece. If you want to make money drawn from your purpose or your vision, there are a couple of questions that you really need to be able to answer for yourself. And this may take time, meaning you may start with a certain set of answers, but those answers may get more and more clarified and more real for you as you move along. And your willingness to be in a process that invites greater clarity as you practice is the name of the game, right? Often we look at people who are 10 years in, meaning they have 10 years of practice, to our 2 days of visioning, and we want to compare.
Yep.
Can't do that.
Yep.
Right? You all don't do it to yourself, right? You have to honor and recognize where you are in the journey, right? So the first question, what's the first question I need to answer if I want to get paid, right, from my purpose and calling? What is the change or the transformation that I believe that I am being called to bring to the world? What is the change or the transformation, right? Whether that's, I want to help women live a more healthy lifestyle. I want to help young girls know that they're powerful. I want it. You all hear me. Fill in the blank. What is the change or the transformation that we want to bring? The second question we want to ask is, who is it that we most want to serve? Who is it that we most want to serve, right? As we think about all of the possibilities and all of the opportunities, who is it that we most want to serve, right? Who is it that is willing, of those people who we most want to serve, who is it that is willing to invest in that transformation? And invest isn't just, will they pay for it? It's, will they show up for it? Will they make the meetings? If you're in a coaching context, will they make the coaching sessions? Will they do the homework? Will they follow the guidance, right? Will they do the exercises for all my health beloveds out there? Will they come to the yoga classes, right? Whatever your prescription is for that change or transformation, are they willing to invest in it, right? And then finally, what is different as a result? In other words, what happens in their life? What benefits, right? What impact? What shifts? What capacity, right, gets built as a result of them following your change or your transformation and the prescription for your change or your transformation, right? Our guided change or transformation needs to be organized as a proposition that we make to those who we most want to serve. We need to be making that proposition to people who are ready, willing, and able to invest in that opportunity. And then we need to be committed to delivering like we've never delivered before. And if we follow those 4 steps, then we will begin to realize, we will begin to manifest financial compensation in exchange for sharing our purpose and our vision with the world.
I hope people are taking notes, or they're going to go back and watch the replay, because you just dropped some wisdom, Rha. I mean, those are powerful questions. Powerful questions.
And, you know, keep it simple, you all, right? And I have to say that to myself, you guys, right? Like sometimes we can get so complicated and complex, and then I want to do this, and you can, and you will, but let's go one thing at a time. One thing at a time, right?
Beautiful. What's next? I could listen to you forever, Rha. Michelle said she took notes. Yes, Michelle. So good. So good. Rha, this is like so good for people. And I think for me, what's coming up is, I don't know how many people take the time. Like you said, we're rushing, where we live in this like Amazon Prime, Venmo type of world. And time is we owe it to ourselves.
Yeah. It is a practice to prioritize what matters.
Mm.
But it's a practice that we must be committed to.
Mm.
You know, Kellyanne, people ask me all the time, Kelly Lynn, like, well, you know, you work with Gabby. What was it like to work with Gabby? Right?
Yeah.
And you know, and Gabby is one of, and I really say this humbly, Gabby is one of many game changers that I've had the privilege of working with, right? And holding space for. But one of the things that I will say to you is what differentiated Gabby from the very beginning was that she wanted to be of service more than anything else.
Yeah.
More than her fear, more than her excuses, more than her drama, more than her trauma. She wanted to be of service, and she was willing to be uncomfortable, right? She was willing to reach for her vision because she wanted that vision more than anything. And I think our willingness to give ourselves the permission to want something that much, that we are really willing to show up for it consistently, is the revolution.
Yes.
Revolution, right? Doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you did one thing every single day, just one thing that moved your dream forward, something else would start to take hold in terms of momentum. Something else would start to happen in terms of actualization, right? And it's loving ourselves enough and believing enough in what we maybe even cannot see right now, but just trusting, like knowing, like, you know what, I don't have all the answers today, but I can take this one step. It's loving ourselves enough, being willing to bet on ourselves enough to just show up in the day in and the day out with that consistent, committed action.
So good, Rha. That's it. That's the secret. That's the
Only
secret.
difference between whoever you may be idolizing and yourself right now. That's the only difference. It just, they have more days in than you do. That's all. It's just time and consistency.
Yeah. Be willing to get uncomfortable. That's the challenge. Yes.
Bertie, yes. Yes. Yeah. Here's the thing, though, to know, you all. Change is always happening. So as much as you may think you're going to be able to stay where you are, you're not. Life is always moving. Change is always happening. What we get to decide is whether or not we want to be at the mercy of our circumstances or whether or not we want to be operating in service to our vision. Because when we're operating in service to our vision, we can actually welcome and work with changes, right? Like, oh, okay. Like my vision or my plan was black pants, but what I got today was beige pants. So I'm going to rock those beige pants, but I'm going to put orange butterflies on those beige pants. I love it. And that's how I'm working with change today. You feel me? When you have a vision, you can be empowered to work with what life gives you. When you're operating in victimhood and reaction to, when you're living by default, then you're always scrambling, right, to try to find your feet in the shifting and the changing tides. So we have to understand that no matter what we decide, no matter what choice we make, standing still is not an option. So we either have to decide, are we going to get on top of the tide, or are we going to let the tide take us under? Right? Are we going to ride the tide, ride the wave? Or are we going to get drowned by the wave, right? Yeah. Those are really the only two choices. And if you understand that and you know that and you recognize that, then this opportunity to move consistently and intentionally towards what you want to have, do, be, and achieve becomes then a no-brainer. It's like, absolutely. Why wouldn't I? If I'm going to be working anyway, why wouldn't I want to be working on my vision?
Mm.
If I'm going to show up anyway, why wouldn't I want to be showing up around what I'm passionate about?
Mm.
If I've got to show my face anyway, why wouldn't it be my face, my authentic face?
Mm. Woo! Rha, every time you speak, it's like soul medicine. It is soul medicine for me. I'll speak for myself. So thank you. Is there a third? There was a third. I'm
There
getting
is a
lost.
third question. Yes. Yes.
I'm like, what's
Yes.
next, Rha?
We've taken it in. We understand. So realizing money is about the quality of your proposition to the people you most want to be serving, who are most ready to invest, and you're delivering on that impact and that change, right? That's what it is. So this third piece, this third question that we ask is, can I really matter? Can little old me really make that difference that I'm wanting to make? Can I really be the change that I want to see in the world? And a lot of us have vision for the world, but a lot of us also hold and carry a lot of apathy about whether or not that vision is doable, real, possible, feasible. And so the first thing that we have to do is we have to be willing to come to grips with our own resignation and apathy, whether that's born from the way that we grew up, whether that's born from messages we've gotten in society, right? Whether that's born from experiences we've had when we've tried to do things before that haven't worked. Every single one of us has to pay attention to what we are believing and the degree to which what we are believing is either empowering or disempowering us, right? I say this all the time. You have a right to protect your enthusiasm. And if you are serious about making change in the world, then you have a responsibility to stay joyful, to stay open, to stay in vision, to stay in possibility. And that is also a practice. In other words, the things that you do every day, from what you consume, right? Whether that's food or content on social media or documentaries or films, whatever you watch, to the people that you surround yourself with, you have a responsibility, right? Just like I said, you feed that idea water and sunlight, you have a responsibility to keep your head to the sky. And that's a practice, you all. That's not about what happens or doesn't happen, because good things will happen and tough things will happen, right? Wonderful things will unfold and shitty things will go down. That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
But the practice of staying in joy, the practice of staying in possibility, that's a discipline. That's a muscle. That's a commitment. Can you believe that you already do matter? You matter. You matter to your children. You matter to your friends. You matter to your beloved if you have a beloved. You matter to your parents if they're still present, even if they're in other form. You matter. So if we can embrace, even just taking a little bit for today, that we matter, then anything that we put our hands on, that we put our hands on with love, matters and represents our contribution to the world. So our work, if we want to matter, our work is to stay present to the fact that we already do. And to work with love, to work with compassion, to work with grace for ourselves and others, to be in that practice every day as we show up, and to do things that are meaningful to us. One of the biggest things I've heard over and over and over again, particularly coming out and into this new season where we're stepping into re-entry, right? We're coming back in the world. Things are opening up after these last 15 months. But one of the things that I heard over and over and over and over and over again from people, no matter what their experience has been these last 15 months, is that they want to do things that matter now. Coming out of this pandemic, AKA sacred pause, coming to the other side of the murder of George Floyd, right? Coming to the other side of all of what we saw moving in the streets. all of the craziness at the Capitol. We want to do things that matter now. We don't want to be wasting our time or wasting our energy. Life is precious. We understand this in a way that we never did before. And so now is the opportunity, right? So if you know that you matter, if you can just take in even a little bit of that today, that you matter, then anything you do with love, anything you do with intention matters. Choose one thing today that you will do with love and intention. Even if it's just wrapping your arms around somebody that you love and kissing them, or sending somebody a text today and telling them that you were thinking about them. That all that matters. Matters. It matters. You matter. Let's go.
Rha. Oh my gosh. Ah, you are so amazing. Any last words? I mean,
Yes, I love you, you know, and thank you, Kelly Lynn, for everything that you're doing, for all of the souls that you're touching. Thank you all for showing up in the stream today. Share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it, right? You know, be that change. And be in conversation after you share it, right? So this is not just about like whatever likes in social media, all that blah, blah, blah. This is about you being willing to forward the conversation of impact and change and transformation. So share, and then be willing to have a conversation with whoever you share this with. Open up the doors of the conversation, right? Your purpose, now's the time. You all, I mean, you could not have picked a better time. I don't care if you think you're late. I don't care if you think you're behind the 8 ball. You're right on time. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
let's go. And people, get into Rha's world. Watch this 7 times, like 7 times until it's in the cells of your body. Like that's what I always say. And get her book, The Calling. Check her out. Get into her world. You are a secret weapon, Rha. I love you so much. And thank you so much for your wisdom and your energy and your love. Like, I'm honestly speechless because you just brought everything. Like, I felt every single word, and I hope every single person watching this replay and here live really takes it in as well. Because it's like you said, it's time. It's time.
Thank you so much for having me, my love. And you all, just thank you all for holding space. Yeah, we need you. That's the last thing I want you to know is we need you. And now is the time.
Thank you, Roz, so much. Thank you, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for showing up and everyone watching the replay and sending so much love. And thank you, Rha. Have an amazing rest of the day. I appreciate you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.